Good evening. I'm Patty Satalia.
And I'm David Price. Coming up on Pennsylvania Inside Out, getting it right the second time, and a conversation with the principal pops conductor for the Pittsburgh Symphony Orchestra, Marvin Hamlisch.
We start things off with his The Art of the Audition. Showbiz is intense competition. If you're trying to land a particular role, you've got a few seconds to show it or blow it. Legendary composer Marvin Hamlisch recently presented a class called The Art of the Audition for Penn State musical theater and vocal performance students. The students auditioned for Hamlisch. He critiqued them, they rehearsed some more, and then they were right on.
Your job when you're an actor is getting a job. That's your job. When you get the job, you do it. But then when you don't have that job anymore, your job is getting a job.
I feel confident in what I have to give. I know where I am, I know my strengths and weaknesses, and I think I know how to audition and how to get a job.
Rebecca Miller is a senior in Penn State School of Theater. Her voice coach, Mary Saunders Barton, heads Penn State's musical theater voice program. Rebecca and 4 classmates from Penn State School of Theater and School of Music are about to get a crash course in getting a job from the award-winning Marvin Hamlisch, who was visiting Penn State as part of the College of Arts and Architecture's residency program.
Well, what a joy to be here. I mean, first of all, the creamery, yes. Yes, we keep that, What I thought I would do is tell you a little bit about what we're gonna do now, and then give you a little background on myself so that you kind of know where I come from.
Where he comes from is the big leagues. Since the mid-1970s, Marvin Hamlisch has been one of the top composers in film, theater, and popular music, earning every major award: 3 Oscars, 4 Grammys, 4 Emmys, 1 Tony, and 3 Golden Globe Awards. His groundbreaking show, A Chorus Line, received the Pulitzer Prize. From Hollywood to Broadway, his compositions are household names, with hits like The Way We Were and The Sting, to They're Playing Our Song and The Goodbye Girl. On this particular evening, he is conducting one of his signature workshops, designed for senior-level students, called The Art of the Audition.
No one has come up with a better, more civilized way to do this than to have people come up, hello, my name is such and such, and you start doing the number, and then you hear that fantastic thank you, which, by the way, we take a course in how to say that. Thank you, thank you. Thank you. Do it again, a little lower. Thank you. No, a little higher. Thank you. Fine. And the thank you doesn't necessarily mean that you didn't get the job or that you're not going on to the next step. The thank you simply means we heard what we needed to hear, we've made our opinion. Thank you. You can't take any of this personally. I mean, you cannot take any of this stuff personally, because what you may be wrong for on day 1, you may be perfect for on day 2. So we'll just begin.
Promise that you'll never tell a soul. Promise that you'll never breathe a word. What I am about to tell you now, Marvin, promise you'll forget you ever heard. Each time I see a girl walking down the street, I start undressing her with my eyes. But I always knew I would live life through with a song in my heart for you.
Well, let's just see who wants to talk about this.
Friendly and not pompous.
Right, friendly and not pompous. Okay, obviously you're not going to be in government. We kind of know once you start that you have a very nice, pleasing, easygoing guy type of voice. Now, that opens up the big conundrum of the second song. Well, in the first song, I was so satisfied. He was funny, he was lovely, he was enchanting, he was this, he was that. In the second song, he can't really deliver the song the way the song was written. Now, if he could, then yeah, that would be incredible. Then it would be like Jim Neighbors. Hi, how are you? Where the song? You're like, whoa. You know what I mean? But
critiquing, as it turns out, is no less an art form than auditioning, and few can do it better than Marvin Hamlisch.
Finding a way to be blunt and still be heard without alienating a person. It's a skill. He needed to say certain things, and they should be heard. He's not there just, to make everybody feel good. He actually wants to make a difference.
Between numbers, Hamlisch shared his wit and wisdom, as well as his admiration for composer and lyricist Stephen Sondheim.
See, let me just tell you why Sondheim's the best. Truly. This is one of the things I hate about most lyricists in today's world, because I don't think that they're poets. When you are desperate to rhyme something, when you're desperate and it doesn't just flow, it just blah, 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 and I went to the can and there was a man and the plan and Afghanistan, when you're, the work of it shows through, but it's not poetry.
There's a wrong way to do it, a right way to screw it up. Nobody does it like me. I've got a big, loud mouth. I'm always talking much too free. If you go for tact and manners, better stay away from me. If there's a wrong way to keep it cool, a right way to be a fool, nobody does it like me.
What Marvin Hamlisch is quick to recognize is when there's a mismatch between the performer and his or her material.
The key of the first one is the wrong key, folks. Now, you're doing it in this key because it's written in that key. You might be doing it in this key because, to be honest with you, it's easier for the pianist to do it in this key. We will do it in whatever key we need to do it to give you the benefit of sounding great. Okay? We want her to sound great. If she doesn't have the B flat, she probably has the A. If she doesn't have the A, she probably definitely has the A flat with a lot of pizzazz.
Tonight won't be just any night. Tonight there will be no morning star. I'll make them tell it again to an old-fashioned dyke like me.
He's also quick to say when he thinks everything's coming together.
I'm not going to wait for you to say it. That was great. Now, let me tell you everything that was great about that, okay? Everything that was great. This girl has no problems with her voice at all, right? That goes from up, down, it doesn't matter. It just flawlessly goes. There's no question of where one ends and one begins. It's just, that's, thank you God. Whatever that is, thank you God. I'm telling you now, she's going to get to the second audition. That has been accomplished.
And those who make it to the second audition in a musical typically can sing and dance.
If you can dance, let me tell you something, that's like bringing a loaded gun. That is a fantastic ace in the hole. And if you can dance, yes, you sing 16 bars, you're the top, you're the, and a baby, you're the bottom, I'm the, ba-ba-da-ba-da, and go. And believe me, that wakes everybody up.
It's simpler than we often let it be. I'll keep you safe and also set you free. I offer you you. I offer you me.
You have an absolutely beautiful voice, and I just think, truthfully, that there are songs out there that will show this off even better. But the good news is that you are the quintessential Sondheim singer. It's wonderful because your intonation is perfect. We can understand everything you sing. And you have the, quote, everyman look. It's not overly masculine. It's not overly feminine.
If I loved you time and again, I would try to say all I'd want you to know. I'll teach you the proper ploys when you talk to boys, little ways to flirt and flounce. I'll show you what shoes to wear, how to fix your hair, everything that really counts to be popular. You're gonna be popular.
First thing we do is, don't you love her smile and she's fun and she's, So I just burn the first song. Burn it. Never to be sung again by you, ever, in my presence. If you and I ever meet and you go into that song, I throw the water at you. Because I'm being honest. It's not your strength. There are certain songs you don't touch unless you can belt them home. In a regular audition, you would have never gotten to the second song. It would have been bye. But then all of a sudden, she looks at her, gives a little tweet. She's waiting for her. And all of a sudden, she sings Popular. And we go, hey, wait a minute, where'd this person come from? That's the person I'm interested in. See this? You're never singing this again.
Okay.
It may have been just a trial performance, but it was all rave reviews for Marvin Hamlisch and Penn State's 5 performers.
I thought he gave them a stunning opportunity to hear and recognize critique at a very high level.
Listen, I just want to say what a pleasure it is to be here because you folks actually give me a kind of renewed caring and desire to be able to do the things that we do in the show business. I look forward to seeing you on Broadway. Thank you very much.
Now, the night was free and open to the public, and I think people would have paid fat bucks to see Marvin Hamlisch because that was really quite a lot of fun. The performers, by the way, we didn't see this in the segment because there just wasn't time. They did go off stage. They incorporated the tips that he provided, came back out, and they were dynamite.
People would pay fat bucks for that kind of advice as well.
You're not kidding. You know, just about everyone has heard the work of Marvin Hamlisch. We recently had the chance to talk with Hamlisch about his music, his life, and his recent swing through our area.
Well, I was invited here to do a little bit of a talk and a little bit of a checking out thing called auditioning, folks and all. And basically, I'm with Pittsburgh Symphony, who's come here, and they're trying to have a wonderful relationship with this university. So it's a kind of a back and forth a little bit. And yesterday we did this thing where we asked 5 students to come in and to sing and talk about what it means and how you really do a good audition. So we did that yesterday, and today I'm going to be giving a little bit of a talk. I would say the story of my life in talk and at the piano together.
Okay, last night was what you're referring to as Art of the Audition,
right.
And I'm wondering, obviously, that the students get an incredible amount about that. It's really a mock Broadway audition for them in front of Marvin Hamlisch.
Right.
What do you get out of that?
Well, first of all, you have to understand that the whole idea of the Art of Audition came to me because this is something they don't teach anywhere. You know, kids who are really talented, they can learn how to sing, they can learn how to dance, they can learn all that stuff. But no one ever teaches them how to then do what they do in an audition setting. Because an audition is very much, you get about 1.5 minutes to show your wares, and you have to use that 1.5 minutes in the best way possible. And what I get out of it was something that we saw last night, which is not only do I get kind of furbished by the fact that, you know, you're around young people with all that stuff going on, but there was a fellow last night who we critiqued, and seeing him then get that much better is what I get out of it.
That quickly.
Yeah, to see something where you've given someone criticism and they've taken it and they've learned what to do with it, and as I say, they leave for a while and then they come back, and to see that gives me a very good sense of like, yeah, this is worthwhile doing, because you know that can be the difference right there between him getting a job and him not getting a job.
It's really not just art of the audition, it's art of critiquing, because there certainly was a way that you did that was remarkable. You talked last night about that one golden, life-changing moment, and in your lifetime there were actually a couple of them. Tell us a little bit about that. Well,
the first major moment was that I was at home and I get a phone call from a woman who was very distraught. I was about 27, 28 years old, and she was looking for a piano player. You know, and just the way someone says that, I'm looking for a piano player, you know, it's like, oh God. And I said, lady, I don't do that. And I explained that I had been a rehearsal pianist on Funny Girl. So I was just trying to say that I'm beyond that stuff to do a party. But when she said it was for the Hollywood producer Sam Spiegel, I thought, I better go to this party. Because it seemed like that kind of a situation where I would be at a party playing, and one of the big producers of film is going to be giving the party, I should be at that party. That's an important thing for me. And what came out of that really was my first film assignment, because he liked what I was playing, you know, and I was just playing tunes, you know, and he told me about a movie he was doing, and I bought the book that it was based on, which was The Swimmer by John Cheever, and I went back to his apartment and played him what I would have written for The Swimmer, and he liked it so much he gave me the job. So there have been those moments, and I think they're very important in life, and I think you have to be ready for them. You have to discern them, and you have to be able to basically say, yes, I can do this, as opposed to saying, gee, I've never taken a course in this, whatever. I mean, I didn't know really how to score a film, but you know, you get the job and then you figure out how to do it, you know? And that's exactly what I did.
And 40 films
Yeah.
or more later, and,
Right.
and every conceivable award that you can imagine later, you're still doing it. But the climate in the world that young music theater and music majors are going to enter is different from yours in a number of ways. For instance, the trend now is that there are fewer original scores for movies.
Right.
So often we see movies where it's a popular song that
Right,
we hear on the
right,
radio.
right.
Sitcoms very rarely now have theme music. And on top of that, when it comes to orchestras, you're often seeing smaller orchestras or the
Right.
virtual pit. So I'm wondering what challenges you think young performers face today.
Well, it's first of all, it's not easy out there. It really isn't. There's absolutely way too many performers for too small amount of jobs. You know, as I said yesterday, there's no way you can stop someone who's been bitten by the showbiz bug to stop and go, listen, you got to be crazy, you know, because they are crazy. So there's nothing you can do about it, but you know, just hope for the best. The environment is tough, and the only advice I have on it is the same advice that my mother gave me, which was make sure you have a plan B. Make sure that if you are not going to be working for a long time, which happens to everybody. I mean, there are times when you could be having 2, 3, 4 jobs in a row, and then you could go three years without a job. I mean, it's just how it works. You've got to have a plan B. You've got to have something else just in case. That's really becomes very vital, you know.
Now, you were only 7, by the way, when you were admitted, the youngest ever in the history of the Juilliard School of Music.
Right.
So we're talking about a child prodigy. I recently watched the movie Shine about David Helfgott.
Oh, yes.
And the veracity of that has been questioned, at least in parts. But it does beg the question, what advice do you have to parents who are raising a very gifted child?
Well, you know, it's a very tricky thing. For instance, I know a lot of kids who are very, very talented, more talented than I am, and 2 things can happen. Either they go a little nuts, they just go crazy because they just are up in a stratosphere that, you know, almost like they don't have any friends anymore because they're off in genius land somewhere, or they love being gifted, but they don't want the things that come with it. They don't want it enough. For instance, I'm tenacious. I really want to write the thing. I really want to be part of show business. I want that. So that was my plight through life. You know what I mean? I wanted it real bad. Somebody else could have played the piano better, but wanting it bad means something. You know. The other thing you have to be careful of, and my mother was very good at this. You don't want to have a life when you're gifted where you're in this cage that people are going, oh, look at him, he's gifted. And you become like the clown act, you know, where every aunt and uncle comes over and your mother says, okay, now play this, do this. My mother wasn't like that at all. In fact, you know, she let me play baseball and all the stuff that I wanted to get around with, where everyone was saying to her, you know, he's going to hurt his hands. And she said, but he loves baseball, you know. You have to a degree, and it's a very hard mix. On one hand, you owe it to the child to take that talent and do something with it, because that's a God-given talent. You're not going to just turn your back on it. But you have to be very careful on how much you pull out of that, because if you go too far, then the joy of the talent just dies, you know? And it becomes, like one of the things I've always said in my life, which is very true, is when you're talented in a family, and you're the one, you know, and you're 7, 8, 9 years old, and you're the one on, you know, let me tell you what happens. You feel like you're the king of the earth because you're the one who's always at the party going, Marvin, do this. Then you get into a school like Juilliard, and you find that there's 100 other people who are the hit of the parties. And now you're in a classroom, and now it's like, wait a minute, how good am I? Look at this kid next to, you know. That can be very helpful, that kind of competition, because at least you now get a sense of, oh, there's others like me. And that's important.
All right, thanks so much for talking with us.
My pleasure.
He's a remarkable fellow. That's going to wrap things up for this edition of Pennsylvania Inside Out.
For all of us here at WPSU, have a good night.
Good night.
A copy of the program you've just seen can be purchased through Penn State Media Sales at mediasales.psu.edu or by calling 800-770-2111.